welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She's a wellness warrior, no other than Miss Antoinette Lee.
Thank you for having me, Daniel.
Welcome on Book 101, Miss Antoinette. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Well, the reason that I'm called the wellness warrior is because I used to be in the Army. I was an air assault qualified expert field medic and an information, I'm sorry, and I'm sorry, one
No
moment.
worries at all. No worries.
So, sorry, I have a brain injury, and so the music made me lose my train of thought.
Sorry.
Uh, that's okay.
Sorry. My apologies. But so, anyway, continue. Can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yes, thank you, Daniel, for having me. I call myself the wellness warrior because I spent 11 years in the United States Army as an air assault qualified expert field medic and also in infection disease and infection control and disease prevention. But I suffered a traumatic brain injury and a broken back while serving in the Army, and the allopathic or conventional medicine treatment that I received nearly killed me. So when I was laying on my deathbed thinking that I was not going to make it one more day, my then service dog was laying by my side. She wouldn't leave my side for food or water to go outside, none of her usual behaviors. And it looks as if she was saying goodbye to me. And I really believed, I felt as though my soul was leaving my body. So I thought, well, if I'm not going to be here tomorrow, let me at least be in gratitude for the life that I had. So I thank God for my life up until that point. And I was grateful for the fact that I had been loved and I've given loved, I've been successful, I've seen the world, I've traveled. And even though my life was considerably shorter than I thought it might be, I was okay with transitioning into my next existence. So I did say, but God, if you give me one more day, I'm going to return to the roots of my healthcare, which was from childhood and growing up. My parents use a lot of natural medicine, even though we did have health insurance. And my thought was to return to natural medicine and I would figure out why I am so sick and tired and, you know, almost not surviving. And then I would reach back and help others. And so I had to become my own patient advocate, rely on nature and nature's healing power. And that's why I call myself the wellness warrior.
Very well said, Miss Antoinette. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today, let's talk about the journey of science and transformative power of nature in healing. Tell us, can you describe what your rock bottom moment felt like physical, mentally, or emotionally before you turned to nature?
Oh, this is such a beautiful question. At the time when I didn't think I was going to survive, I was really just searching my mind and my body for why did I have such a healthy childhood and young adulthood, but now suddenly I'm very, very sick. And so I decided to go with what I know because conventional medicine, even though I have a conventional medicine background, was failing me. I decided to turn to nature. And what's interesting is that at the time I was using a walker, a service dog, and a full time caregiver when I thought I wasn't going to make it to the next day. But I did survive one more day. And what I did was pull out all of my journals, my health journals, and I looked at all the things that I did, lifestyle changes, foods that I ate, supplements that I took when I felt my best, and what I was doing when I felt the most sick. And what I noticed is some patterns emerged when I was more connected to nature and the outdoors and growing some of my own food and just living a more healthy lifestyle. I was better, I was healthier. So I decided to return to that. And when I talked to my occupational therapists, they recommended archery for things like holding this conversation with you and the Book 101 review listeners today, or reading comprehension. They suggested archery, and archery within 30 days helped to retrain my brain for all of the tasks that require focus. That was my first connection to nature. My second connection to nature was when my recreational therapist recommended whitewater kayaking. I was still using a walker and a service dog, but they put me in a little plastic boat and taught me kayaking at a very high level. And that was my second connection to nature. And my third connection to nature was making lifestyle changes that incorporated less of the allopathic conventional medicine, prescription medicine, and more of natural medicine, vitamins, minerals, supplements, uh, 75 ounces or half your body weight in ounces of water per day. Also, good sleep. So, all of those good habits. And what's interesting is that researcher Sonia Lubomirsky, she says that 50%, her hypothesis is that 50% of what makes us who we are is genetic. And of course, you can do certain things like lifestyle choices that turn that genetic expression on or off. So if cancer is something that runs in your family, it doesn't mean you will definitely develop cancer over your lifetime. It just means that you have a 50% chance that you will, but you can keep those cancer genes turned off by lifestyle choices for them in most cases. So Sonia Lubomirsky also says that 10% of what makes you who you are is your environment, the foods you eat, where you live, the kind of people that surround you, your education, and so on, how you're raised. And 40% of what makes you who you are, whether you are successful or not successful, whether you are happy or not happy, whether you are sick or well, 40% of that responsibility is within your control. So if you want to make yourself 40% happier or 40% more successful or 40% healthier, that's within your control. So I began making lifestyle choices, incorporating nature into all of those aspects of my life in the three different ways. And that is how I became healthy. And since then, I've become a sponsored adventure sports athlete.
Interesting, Miss Antoinette. And what was your experience like with the traditional medical system? Did you feel heard, or was your illness dismissed or misunderstood?
Oh, that's such a great question, especially now. I was gaslit by doctors many times. I was misunderstood. And I'll give you an example. In 2019, I was so healthy. I whitewater kayaked um, the Arkansas River in Colorado at high water, which is very difficult to do. I whitewater kayak the Cache Laputa River in Colorado at high water, flood stages, which is also very difficult to do. And I did those two things in the same week. The following week, I summited Medicine Bow in Wyoming. The fourth week, I went to mountaineering school. And also in that same week, I summited Baxter's Pinnacle in Wyoming, and then I attempted the Grand Tetons. So I was extremely healthy. during that time. And then suddenly I started to gain weight, 40 pounds of weight gain, unexplained. I was having difficulty breathing, heart palpitations. I went from suddenly a high functioning athlete to someone who could barely get out of the bed. Again, I'm having very severe health challenges. When I went to my doctor and I talked with a cardiologist about the heart rhythm problems, the difficulty breathing, and chronic fatigue, the 40 pounds of weight gain. And he said, well, you should just embrace body positivity because beauty comes in all shapes and sizes. Well, that's not what I want my cardiologist to say to me. I want my cardiologist to help me find the root cause of what's causing the irregular heart rhythm and the difficulty breathing and the weight gain. It turns out that 5 doctors, including one doctor that said, "It's all in your head, maybe you should go talk to a therapist." They all gaslit me or dismissed my symptoms, and then I moved to a different state. I found a new doctor in the country. I live in the woods now, in a forest in the middle of, the United States, and the country doctor said, "I believe you," ran some tests, and found out that I had very dangerous levels of chronic widespread inflammation. Since then, it only took 1 week of one medication and then, 3 months of another medication, and I'm back to normal. And so the problem with just following your doctor's orders, if I had listened to my doctor and just accepted a consult to mental health, which I didn't have a mental health problem, I had a chronic inflammation problem, but if I had listened to my doctor, maybe the damage to my heart would be so severe that I would have had a heart attack or a stroke or maybe not survived at all. So it's very important to be your own patient advocate. And I just interviewed on my podcast, New Normal Big Life, Dr. Julie Seamers, who talks about surviving your hospital stay and working with conventional doctors and how to advocate for yourself. So I highly recommend that your listeners check that out.
Yes, for sure. We will check it out, that Miss Antoinette. And how did living with chronic illnesses change your senses of self and your vision for your future?
Oh, this is a big question. So I like to say that when I was in the military before my traumatic brain injury and broken back, I was the hero or heroine of my own story. I was successful. I was a well respected leader in my field. I was a competitive athlete. I was a competitive bodybuilder and powerlifter for the army, and I was winning lots of trophies. And then I got injured and I went from the hero of my story to a zero, someone that needed another person to take care of them. I needed a full time caregiver and a service dog. So my illness, my health challenges made me lose my sense of self for a long time. And that's why I started the new normal journey. And what I did on that journey was I sat down and asked myself, well, first I had to acknowledge my old life was never coming back. I was never going to be a competitive bodybuilder or power lifter again. I was never going to be a well-respected staff sergeant in the army again. So who was I? And so I sat down and I wrote out what my new normal would be, what I would do for a living, what kinds of people I would surround myself with, what I would do for recreation, and what kind of person I would be in the world. And once I decided what my new normal would be, I woke up every day and started one new thing towards building my new life. And then the next day, it was a second thing that I'd add to my list. And then a third thing I'd add to my list of things that I'm doing step by step to create my new normal and live a big life. And the life that I envisioned when I was still using a walker and a service dog is 100% the life that I live now. So when Dr. Lubomirsky says that you can change 40% of your life, character, who you are, what you do, I believe that. I operated on it every day, in that I took one step on that journey, then another, then another, then another. And next thing you know, it was, let's see, 4 years after that, I was living that new life that I envisioned. And when I started my new life journey in writing, I didn't have a plan. I didn't have money. I didn't even have my health yet. But every day I took one step, one step, one step. And then 4 years later, I was living the life that I envisioned. And today, that life is even bigger than what I thought it would be.
How did you engage with the nature evolve from simple activity into dedicated international healing protocol?
Oh, well, I like this question too. So I began posting on social media my um, ways that I was using nature to connect with good health. So, for example, I posted about creating a homestead and growing most of my own food. I posted about hunting and fishing, even ice fishing. I posted about kayaking and paddleboarding, and I was very enthusiastic about it. And the brands of the outdoor gear that I was using started contacting me to ask me if I wanted to be a sponsored athlete and a brand ambassador. Other brands hired me to model their gear or clothing, and that's how I developed the international recognition that I have today.
Yes, definitely. And Miss Antoinette, your journey seems to be blend the tangible with the intangible. How do you reconcile the science of nature's benefits with the spiritual aspect of healing?
Well, I see God in everything. I'm part of God. God is part of me. God is part of nature. That's my belief system. And when we connect with technology so much, we forget that we are not part of technology. We are human beings and we're part of the universe. We're part of the thing of things. So when I'm in nature, some people I know, they go to church or they go to synagogue or they go to temple, and that's where they feel the presence of God. I feel God everywhere, especially out in nature. It's God's creation is nature. And by not separating myself as a natural being from the natural world, I feel more whole. And I know that's a difficult concept for people who don't go out in nature often to think of, but sometimes when you're feeling a little disconnected from the world, step outside in nature. Let the sun shine on your face. If it's a cloudy day, just feel the slight breeze in the air, or maybe it's a cold air or a very hot air, but just let it wash over you. And you might start to feel this sense of wholeness very suddenly without even doing anything. That's your body and your soul reconnecting to a part of yourself that you may not have had a lot of interaction with because we all spend so much time indoors. In fact, nature is so important to our human existence that if you don't get enough natural sunlight, enough vitamin D, you could start to develop some forms of cancer. By spending more time in nature, getting more sunlight, and getting more vitamin D through your food and through natural sunlight, you can reduce your chances of many forms of cancer. That's just a simple example of how important it is for every human being to have a deep connection to nature. And the deeper your connection to nature, the healthier you will be. And you don't have to take my word for it, you can try it for yourself.
Very well said, Miss Antoinette. Very well said. And what are or what is your experience like with your health right now?
I am doing very, very well. I'm recovering from some health challenges that I had last year, but now I'm doing very well. I've been very active this summer, lots of kayaking and fishing, and getting ready to go into hunting season. I also spent a lot of time foraging for food and medicine, and also wildcrafting, finding natural materials to make crafts out of. So yeah, I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for asking, Daniel.
You're most welcome, Miss Antoinette, as a wellness warrior. What are your short-term and long-term goals?
Oh, wow. In the short term, I really just want to help more people understand how important it is to not only have a relationship with nature, but to use nature as medicine. And one of the things that I like to talk about is important books that are important to me. And Nicole Appelian's The Holistic Guide to Wellness has a list of herbal protocols and uh, common health challenges that you can solve with natural medicines and vitamins, minerals, supplements, those sorts of things. So, in the short run, I'm trying to get the word out that there are lots of books that you can read to help teach you how to reconnect to nature and use food as medicine, use nature as medicine and as a healing process. And in the long run, I'm developing an online course called the New Normal Big Life Journey, where I help people walk through creating their new normal so that they can live a big, exciting life. Because one of the challenges that we have in this world is that we as human beings hear no, no, no so often that sometimes it can stop you from even trying. So remember, 40% of who you are and what your life is today can be changed by the actions that you take.
Hmm. Good luck to your goals, Miss Antoinette, and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be a wellness warrior too?
Well, Daniel, here's what I would recommend for the Book 101 review audience. Starting today, sit down with a piece of paper and ask yourself this one question. Am I as happy as I want to be? Do I have the kind of relationships that I want with my family, friends, or a partner? Do I have the health that I want? Do I have fun and excitement in my life? Do I still play with the abandonment of a child? Am I enjoying life or am I just existing? If you're not answering in the affirmative, yes, I have the life I want. Yes, I'm as healthy as I want to be. Yes, I play and enjoy life. Then you might want to consider starting a new normal big life journey. So from there, write out what your new normal will be. Not in the future tense as if you are living it already. So for example, you would say, I have this kind of friend. I have this kind of relationship with my siblings. I have this kind of health. I feel this way in my body. I feel agile and mobile and strong. Write out your new normal and how you want it to be. And then the next day, take one step towards that new normal. So if one of your new normal goals is that you are more flexible. Then the next day, think of how you can become flexible. Maybe a yoga practice or a Pilates practice or a stretching practice. And then the next day, maybe the next step in your journey is to start eating healthier. And then the next day, your next step could be finding the right vitamins, minerals, and supplements to improve your mental health. I have a whole podcast where you can just download a document that tells you what vitamins and minerals will help different aspects of your mental health and your sleep and so on. So take one step every day. I encourage everyone to examine their life. And if you're not living the life that you want, everything that you need to create the big life that you're dreaming of is already inside you.
Very well said, and thank you for that advice. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey, Miss Antoinette?
Yes, I would highly recommend Nicola Pellion's The Holistic Guide to Wellness, because if you have some health challenges that your allopathic or your conventional medicine doctor hasn't been able to solve for you, you may find the answers in Nicole's book. I know I found many answers to my biggest health challenges in this one book.
Thank you for that recommended book, Miss Antoinette. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Antoinette, if you could share only one piece of wisdom from your journey from rock bottom to radiant, what would it be?
Get outside and adventure.
Hmm. Yes, as simple as that, people. Miss Antoinette Lee, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy or any projects that you're doing right now?
Well, I hope you will follow me on nnbl.blog and sign up for our newsletter so that you can get important health and wellness tips free to your inbox with step by step instructions every week.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Antoinette Lee because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Miss Antoinette, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. It's been an honor to be here with you and your listeners.
More to come, people. See you soon.